Well, welcome everyone to the Accelerate Your Consulting live stream. It's good to be back with you. It's already Tuesday again. Life goes so fast. Chris, hello. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. It feels like fall today. I'm so excited. It's
Oh,
it's
I
it's a
love
cold and rainy day in Atlanta, Georgia, but
fall.
I don't mind either one of those. So
Well, it's not cold and raining in Oklahoma City. In fact, I just took a walk during lunch and it's just perfection in my eyes. So I love it. Well, welcome everyone. We have people joining kind of from all over. We have folks from live stream, from Facebook where am I going? Facebook and LinkedIn, and then the Giant platform. And if you all are on another platform other than the Giant platform, you are welcome to use a free account forever. That's what's really cool about Giant is we actually offer free content to anyone in the world. If you just go to giant.tv/free account, you can get tons of content that you can just eat up, and it's really good content. So we invite you there, but also that's where you can go to watch all of our live streams throughout the week. And so we've got, I think 6 of them this week, and they're growing.
that's crazy.
So I
And
know
we have a new one this week, right?
that's
Is it
right.
this week?
Tomorrow at 3:00 Eastern, I get to host with Jeremy Kubicek, and you guys, you are not going to want to miss it. Jeremy is the best storyteller, and he's got real life stories. He doesn't make these up either, and it's called Unreal Stories. So we'd love for you to join us. You will not be disappointed.
Let me put a plug in for that. So I've worked with Jeremy for a long time, and when I was COO for him, and he was CEO of one of our other giant companies. I literally chose to move my family to Atlanta, Georgia, and be a part of Giant back in the day because I wanted to be a part of some of Jeremy's unreal stories. I literally wanted to be close to him just so that I could say that I was in some of those because he's got the craziest stories, amazing stories, and you won't want to miss that. It'll be awesome. What time is that one again? Tomorrow at
3 p.m. Eastern. So join us for that.
Awesome.
But yeah, again, free account. So go to giant.tv/free account, and that's where you can sign up. It really is free. I keep saying that, but a lot of times you go to something and it's free for 30 days or it's free for a couple months. This is truly free as long as you want to enjoy it. So of course we have paid subscriptions as well, but that is definitely free. So we'd love for you to come onto that and our others as well. So if you haven't met either Chris or myself yet, I am Tracy Rader. I'm the Director of Implementation here at Giant, and Chris is our Director of Partners. And so this particular live stream is for any of you who are either interested in or already have your own consulting or coaching business. And this is just a 30 minutes or so just for you. We want to give you resources and tips and tricks and all of that good stuff. So take it away, Chris. What are we going to discuss today?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. So, and part of the reason I'm excited for this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I'm personally coaching four different coaching groups at the present time. I probably 30 to 40 people that I'm coaching, and love it. I love the opportunity that it brings to be able to bring different people together that are all kind of have a shared journey at the same time. I love it for the people that are in the group because they get to learn from other people instead of just me. When I'm only doing one-on-one coaching, then you only get the benefit of my experience and expertise. When you're in a coaching group, you get that times 8 or times 10 or even more. And so I use these heavily, and the giants that we're going to have on the call today also practice these. And I love it because we actually use this very much, not just within for existing clients, but we do this with as a business development practice as well. We a lot of times we'll use coaching groups that then will lead to other long-term relationships with new clients down the line. So thought this would be great to actually, instead of just hearing from me or hearing from Tracy and I, let's actually get some people that are in the field that are out there doing that. And so I'm going to welcome 3 of my good friends that are coming in from literally all over the world today. Mark Tilsher is in Florida. Linnea Miller is in Georgia, close by with me. And then my friend Mike Hardie is tuning in from Australia. So guys, it is really good to have each of you with us today. This is amazing. One of the things that we do well with Giant, I think, is community and family. I feel like these are not just colleagues, but good friends. And so I so much appreciate having each of you on. Now, I know you, nobody else knows you, so we're going to do the obligatory quick introductions. We don't have a lot of time today, but I would love to have you guys introduce and tell everybody who you are, where you're tuning in from, a couple of fun facts about you, and then let them know kind of how you've been involved, how long have you been connected to Giant, and then we'll get into some of the conversation on coaching groups. Mark, I'll let you go first.
I had a feeling you were going to do that. Hey, everyone. My name is Mark Tilsher. I am in Orlando, Florida, about 25 minutes away from Disney World. A couple of quick fun facts about me. So I retired from the U.S. Air Force after 21 years of service last year. So last May the 1st, I officially went from being in the military to being a civilian. And I've been growing my hair out, Chris, ever since. I love Disney. My family and I are kind of Disney heads. So if that resonates with you. And then how long have I been using Giant? Giant is in my DNA. It's in my blood. And transitioning out of the military and into Giant, I was doing it before. But this is full-time, 100% of what I do. And it's been about 2 years that I've been engaged, but full-time for about a year and a half.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, Linnea, how about you?
Hey there, my name is Linnea Miller, and I live here in Swanee, Georgia, which is about 30 miles outside of Atlanta, Georgia, but maybe only about 5 miles down the road from Chris Edgar. So I have been, I'm married for 25 years. I have a history in with education, a background in education, and my kind of second job here is my second hat that I wear is as an elected official in our local government. So I have a lot of government experience, and I have 4 children, and I have known about Giant Man for I guess a long time now. It's been probably over 10 years, that all the different iterations of Giant, but really I have been involved with Giant as far as my own business for about a year and a half. So
That's
loving,
awesome.
loving it.
Thank you, Linnea. And then Mike, how about you?
Hey guys, it's great to be on the call. Well, my name is Mike Hardie. I'm from the Sunshine Coast in Australia, thus the accent. My colleague and I, Rowan Dredge, run a company down here called 4 Leaders Global, and we always get paid out by all our fellow consultants and friends and guides for our accents. Some people don't believe they're real. So, that's always a bit of fun on our calls. But I'm married to Teresa, and we've got 2 beautiful kids. And I've been in consulting and leadership the last 3 years. I was in the not-for-profit world before that for 25 years running organizations. And I got on Giant in December 2018 along with my business partner, Rowan. We absolutely love it. We've been loving the ride that we've been on, and exciting.
That's amazing. And we'll talk about this at the very end, but each one of Mark and Linnea and Mike are all are on our Accelerate platform and a part of our guide community and certified on our content, and which we talk about at the end of every one of these calls, and which is how I get to spend so much time with them and love that. Here's what we want to talk about today. And I like to give this disclaimer often, but I always have this hesitation when we start talking best practices. I've been on the other side of those conversations, and there's a little bit of sometimes something in you that goes, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing the right thing, or I've been doing it all wrong, or, I've got so many ideas. I need to do every idea that's about to come out on this call. And that's not really the purpose. Really, I think Mark and Linnea and Mike would all say this. We're just all people that are a little bit further down the road than maybe where you are. And maybe have just been doing this particular version of consulting or coaching or using coaching groups in a certain way. Take what you can, glean from that, take any kind of best practices, anything that you think would benefit you, but don't feel like you have to mimic and do it, exactly like you're hearing. Hopefully you'll be able to come off the call today and hear some good best practices and ideas for how to utilize coaching groups, not just for serving existing clients, but actually in generating new business. And that's actually where I want to start today. So the first question that I'd love to hear just from each of you is, how have you used coaching groups to generate new business? When you talk about, these are people that maybe you in different capacities, maybe some new, maybe some old, but you're utilizing the coaching groups first and foremost to generate new leads or to bring in new clients or to generate new business. Someone give me an example of how you're doing that now and what that looks like. Linnea, I'm gonna point to you because I know that you're doing this. Share a little bit about how you're using coaching groups in your own consulting practice.
Oh yeah, no, I'm actually in the process of putting together a second cohort of coaching groups right now. I have another coaching group that has been with me for a while now, and I'm in a coaching group. So I'm a big believer of we have to go first, right? We've got to live what we lead, and so being a part of a coaching group is really important part for me too. But I will say, as far as generating new leads. For me, I think what I love about coaching groups is that it allows you to be really relevant. So one of the approaches that I have taken with putting my coaching groups together is to start with an 8-week approach. Just basically saying we're going to take 8 weeks. So it feels like it's a pretty simple commitment for people. Maybe they have no experience. Maybe they've never been a part of a coaching group, or they don't know anything about Giant, or they're just not sure what it all looks like. 8 weeks, especially if they already know you, I think that really helps, that they can say, okay, I could do this for 8 weeks. And what I did earlier in the spring, when I started the last coaching group that I started, is, again, going back to relevancy, we were all in this process of everybody had been really shut down and social distanced and kind of put in quarantine, right? And so what was on everybody's mind was this idea of how do we re-enter? How do we go back into our business places, or what does that new normal look like, or all the terms that we've learned? And so I basically called the 8-week group re-entry. And I said, for 8 weeks, we are going to be intentional about a process, about using some tools to think about how we are going to re-enter with intentionality, and to be healthy, and to just do that in a small group setting. And so started that group for 8 weeks. I think we had 10 people in the group. And after the 8 weeks was done, there was so much transformation and just experiences, like people that signed up that were saying, I signed up for business development, but I had no idea the impact this was going to have on my marriage, or this is causing me to parent differently. And so out of those 10 folks, about 7 stayed on long-term, because I gave folks an option after that 8 weeks. So that was, one of the approaches that I took. And I'll tell you that those folks that have been in that group become really internal champions for your business as well. So I know some of my coaching clients actually have invited me to other opportunities to speak and to consult in other form. So I just got some business this past week from one of my coaching clients who wanted me to speak to another group that she is involved with her business. So it's just been a great experience from a business development standpoint and just a personal standpoint as well.
Yeah, and I love that. And to point out a couple of things in that, like, one, it's very easy entry. Like, it was very relevant topic. It was something that was a short term. It wasn't a long-term commitment. It wasn't a humongous financial obligation, they had to sign up for. For you, it allowed you to connect and bring, we talk about showing Giant rather than selling Giant, like, to actually get people nearby that you're able to serve. You've got champions that come out of that, right? You've got people that are your fans, that are Giant fans, that are whatever you're trying to do, are out there talking about you word of mouth with other people. And we all know that's like the best, business generator, is when you have other people that are out there, selling or talking about you in front of other people. So I love that. Mark, Mike, anything that you all would add? How have you used it from a business development perspective?
Mike, you want to go first? You want me to go?
Oh, you go, Mark.
Yeah, no, Chris, I think I would echo kind of what you guys said, which my approach to coaching groups, I think, might be a little bit different than what most people do. But from my point of view, it's exactly that. There's a book, and the idea is that you're trying to get 1,000 true fans. And that if you have 1,000 true fans, you'll never have to work again a day in your life, basically, because you have people that are interested in what you're doing and they want to be served by you. And so for me, when I think of coaching groups, truly what I'm trying to do is to have an intense relationship in a short period of time. And so we have a tool in Giant that talks about the felt need for pain and giving somebody an instant solution, which leads to long-term relationship. And in my point of view, I don't know that there's a better way to do that than to walk with somebody for 8 weeks, let's say, and just truly walk that path with them. because the level of intimacy that you develop with the client it's truly more than you're going to get when you do a workshop or when you do, you do a series with an organization. You might make friends in those, and there might be one or two people that latch on to you. But this idea that somebody's going to become your champion, I think that's much more likely to happen when you walk that path with them over the course of 8 weeks. And I think that when you have the ability to dig deep with somebody, to answer the questions that they're having in their hearts, and to see what happens with them week over week, and for them to get comfortable with you providing them support and challenge, it's something that you would almost pay them to be a part of, right? And if we think about our life and some of the people that we're likely to serve, whether we're talking about pioneers or guardians or whatever, people don't invite other people in easily. And so when you decide that somebody gets to come into your circle and that they get the opportunity to provide you support and provide you challenge, and they do that in a way that's effective, that becomes really addicting, because trust, right? It takes an instant to break. It takes a lifetime to build, right? But trust isn't something that a lot of us give freely, especially if we've been burned. And so in a coaching group, you really have this opportunity to very quickly accelerate your relationship. And the way that I communicate it with people that I talk to is that you just become their person. And that's my goal, is when you think of the problem that you're having, I just want to be your person, right? Like, you're having a problem with your work, with your marriage, with your children, with your wife. Like, I don't care what it is. I just want to be your person. Just call me and let's work it through together, right? And I think that friends, that's easy, right? The people that you have established relationships with, but coaching groups, they just allow you to really accelerate that process.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too, because it's amazing to me. Obviously, most of us are doing these groups in a virtual setting, right? Especially in the world that we live in right now with COVID-19. I can't tell you the number of groups that I've done that have been, I've gotten to know people so well from a little 2-inch square on a screen, right? That's all I've never even been with them in person. I've never met them physically. And yet connecting on a regular basis in a group, you're right. Like, that trust builds really quickly, and the relationship follows, and you have people that become, friends, lifelong friends.
That's right.
Or business, even do business together because they've gotten to know each other at a totally different level, even if they're not in the same room together. Yeah. So I love how it does that. Mike, what would you add?
Yeah, gosh, great stuff already said. I use a phrase for myself, but I'm saying this when I'm doing the engagement process with organizations in particular, is that workshops inform coaching guides transformation. And so I come from a speaking background. So, I love to do workshops and get up in front of groups, and whether that's in an online format, which is most of now, or whether it's in live workshops, like, we loved that part. It's like, charge a fee for that. But the most powerful thing is that people get information from that, and they can agree and they can be inspired and go, wow, that's great. But then they walk out and they forget most of it. But what's helped me seal deals with organizations is when I say, guys, we only do this. I mean, if you really only want a workshop, we'll do that, but we don't recommend it. What we recommend is we'll run a workshop, and then we'll run a coaching group. And we break down the number of people that are going to be that into small groups, so that it gets embedded in the language. And so they start using the language immediately. And we found that once people grab that and they get to hear it and speak it and share it and hear others in the group, all of a sudden they're getting excited because they feel like they're part of it. And it's very easy for them to sell that to other people. The other aspect is there's two components in the way that we use coaching groups. We do this in corporate clients and businesses that we work with in-house. But then for those who are individuals, this is actually kind of new to us, but we're actually launching a brand new program at the moment where we have individuals that will join our program and then be in a group with a bunch of other leaders. And so we have this kind of running simultaneously. So that also, we're hoping, and we've experienced this from other people, which is why we're doing it, is going to open up further business in the organizations where those individuals come from, because they're having such a dynamic experience. And it's not just information transference, it's actually transformation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so great. And I like that you touched on the fact that even using this inside a particular organization, which you would think, well, how's that new business or how's that business development? Well, obviously you're able to provide a different level of depth with delivery where so if anybody's out there that does speaking a lot or does workshops a lot, this may be an actual great way to put legs on whatever it is that you're teaching them to make that relationship longer. So it's not a moment in time. And I think it's also true, and I think probably the most part, when you gather individuals from different teams, I mean, just think about that. Doing a coaching format with the same 8 team members from people who work together in a business setting is really impactful, but you're only reaching one team, right? When you do a coaching group that invites individuals to come in, it's the exact same effort and time on your part, but now you're reaching 8 potential teams instead of one. That has tremendous business development, implications, because all of a sudden every one of those 8 people then becomes a champion and gets excited, even if a small number of those actually go, hey, I know somebody else who needs this. Oh, our team needs this. Oh, you need to come into the organization. That really starts to open doors. So let's that's a good transition into the second question, which is, and Mike, I'm going to start with you because this is a good segue with what you just said. Some of what you're doing, even when you're doing a group inside a business, obviously is beneficial for you because it's going to prove you're going to bring more return on what you're doing. It's actually going to work and be stickier and more impactful. It'll probably lead to give you more opportunities for business. How's it good for the people that are there? And you touched on this a little bit, but for the clients that are a part of the coaching group, how is that good for them? Why do you use coaching groups within existing clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I was trained as an executive coach, and so a lot of people initially, when they think about coaching, they think, "Oh, I want this kind of one-on-one." Now, if someone wants to pay, a premium price for that, then we can discuss that. But from a business model, first of all, for ourselves, it doesn't really scale. Like that's a lot of work over time. But if a business or a group is feeling like, yeah, well, that's good for you, but how's that good for us? My own personal experience in group coaching, we actually use as an example. And this happened even yesterday. I got feedback from a coaching group yesterday around, wow, I learned so much from my colleagues. And so it's the shared learning experience that when you're sharing your experience, but then you hear a different angle from somebody else, they're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize you were using that tool in that particular way. And so that's really important. The other aspect of this from a corporate business experience is that it's less time. So many people, because they haven't done 5 Gears, one of our tools yet, are saying, we don't have time, we're stressed, we're under pressure. And so they like the idea, okay, cool. We're not losing like a whole day of coaching to all different people, but here's a section of time. And if we do like, hey, we're going to do an hour every fortnight, and we're going to get the group together and we're going to discuss and we're going to talk, it feels like, okay, that's a good amount of time that I can do, but they might not be talking the entire hour. But that shared experience is what's critical to the learning. And so that's what we found to be the most helpful.
Yeah, love that. Linnea, what about you?
Well, so to what Mike said, I love what you said about transformation, because I truly believe, my church always says circles are better than rows, right? It's because that learning, that inspiration can happen in a row in a corporate, setting, but those circles, those groups, those small groups is really where that transformation happens. And I think in a corporate environment, even like you were talking about, Mike, what it is it's the practice session. It's where do we practice this? So we did our training, right? And we kind of learned some concepts, but if you don't do anything else until I come back again a couple months later, then where have you practiced, and it doesn't help to cram necessarily the day before. So these coaching groups allow within the organization for the team to actually practice what we've been learning. So I think it's that practicing. And then for the individuals, it's an opportunity for those folks to just experience authenticity, that especially when you create as a coach, you create psychological safety. They get to have authenticity that does truly, it can really impact and transform their lives. And I've seen this happen. And I know I'm only one foundational voice, as we all are, right? When you have a coaching group and it's full of people with different foundational voices and they can resonate even with somebody that has their shared experience, it's really powerful.
Yeah, love that. Way to pull in the giant tools and language. I love that 5 voices. So, but you're right? It's like your one perspective your one experience, your one expertise. It's not that that's not valuable, but 9 times out of 10, it's usually not coming from me. I'm just merely facilitating in the conversations that come out of that from people who say, oh yeah, I'm going through that as well. Or I've been there. Here's how I got through. Or, hey, I've got some insights like that. That's just invaluable. I don't know how you recreate that. Mark, come to you. And then Tracy, we'll come to some questions here in just a minute.
Difficult to follow up with what those two said. So I think I'll take it in a little bit of a different direction. So there's a lot of different types of coaching. And so they covered a bunch of different types in their conversations. One that I would talk about, I think that's really valuable, is that, so in Giant, we talk all the time about how there has to be an everyone component, right? And coaching by nature, like the most valuable thing you have is your time, and you can't give your time to everyone, right? So there's an everyone piece of development. But when you're trying to work with an organization and the implementation is beyond just, hey, I'm going to do a workshop, but you're actually working hard with people, right? To actually transform culture across the organization, they have implementers. And I think that this is where you can really scale yourself, is that if you're working with an organization to impact change, one of the things that I would consider asking them for is, hey, give me a cadre, give me 10 people, give me 5 people, give me 8 people, one person, right? Don't underestimate the power of one that I can pour into in coaching sessions. And then this person is going to be fired up and they're going to help you implement when I'm not there, right? And I think that don't underestimate the power of creating, we call them internal Sherpas, internal guides. Don't underestimate those types of coaching groups either, because you can really multiply yourself and free yourself up of some capacity as well.
Yeah. In fact, I think that's the end for us, because we're doing leadership development. Obviously, I think for us, we're always trying to position, like, how do we resource the leaders to be the leaders? Like, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to do it where it's not that they don't need you or they don't benefit. They do absolutely benefit from your wisdom and helping facilitate that process. But at the end of the day, you're not going to probably be there 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And is the work that you're doing with them something that is sustainable and scalable? So, Tracy, love this. What questions do we have that we can address?
Yeah, we just have one coming in so far. Laura asked, are you charging for the coaching group, or is this just a way to serve your clients?
Yes.
Both. Yes to both.
Both.
Yes.
I do both. I do free coaching groups, and I also do charged coaching groups. I do a lot of charged coaching groups, but the free groups, I typically nowadays, I've transitioned away from just meeting up with people just in general, and I've really geared it towards using the Invincible operating system, because then they're getting into the ecosystem, they're getting experience with the tools, and that does a lot of the heavy lifting for me. So yeah, I still do a lot of both for sure.
I pretty much charge for both my individual and with my corporate. With my corporate ones, it's built in to the monthly retainer. And for my individuals, I ask them to pay a fee plus the $49 individual account for Invincible. But if my portion, my fee is a barrier, it depends on the person or their situation. But I do have a couple folks that I'll do for free as well. Usually it's because what it'll do is it'll help model for them how they can then coach their teams. So it's also an added value for them in another way.
That's great.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, for individual, it's the one price that includes the workshop teaching, but then also includes the coaching group. So it's just the one fee. And within the corporates, it's always part of the monthly retainer. That's how we're selling this process. We're going to run team workshops, and then we're going to have the different groups in coaching groups.
Yeah, and I'll say for me, I always charge, but I always have people participate in paid groups who are participating for free. So I kind of do the mixture. I'm like, I don't unfortunately have a lot of capacity to do a bunch of free groups that don't have any kind of return on investment. So I'll always charge for it, but then I'll discount some for people, and I'll always include as a way for me just to be giving back into the community. I usually include at least a couple of people that aren't charged anything. Maybe they work for nonprofits, or they're just in a place where they can't pay for that level of coaching, and it's a way for me to be able to give back into the community. So.
Yeah. So Leslie asked a follow-up question here, Linnea, to you exactly. When you did the 8-week group, how did you determine what to focus on?
We just kind of themed it as reentry, just because that was really what was at the top of everybody's mind, and really just talking about how do we, and that was an individual group. So how do we kind of enter into this new season with mindfulness and self-awareness and just with health? And so that was really what was the appeal for folks. But now we actually just content-wise went through Sherpa training. And that's what I do with all my coaching groups. So you create it once, you create the slides once, you go through the Sherpa training once. And I like it really pretty. So I probably put a lot more time into it because I like it to all look the way I like it to look. But once I do that, then I can just reuse it for other groups as well.
Yeah, and I would advise that. So, I mean, that's a good segue into what we talk about every time. Just so if you're a guide or you're a coach or a consultant out there that's trying to do this business on your own, I would highly recommend that you check out our coaching program at giantworldwide.com/accelerate. All three of these our friends that are on today have gone through this process, and it's a way for you to, yes, get certified on our tools, our technology, our content, but it's also a community. And that's probably the biggest value. I hear coaches and consultants that join the program that are used to a traditional certification process, which is like paying a ton of money up front, having no relational connection whatsoever. And then you're just kind of, stamped with approval to use their stuff, but you're out on your own. And that's just not who Giant is. It's a small monthly fee to make it more palpable for you to be able to get involved and hopefully learn so that you can be earning revenue off of it. But time and time again, the thing that surprises people is the collaboration, the community, the connection with other consultants and guides all over the world. So invite you to do that. One of the benefits of joining Accelerate also is you get access to our Invincible product and what we have called Sherpa Training. It's a coaching program that you can actually utilize. I do that exclusively. I used to make it up on the way, and I like to do my own thing. I don't do that anymore because Sherpa Training is just too good and too powerful. So every coaching group that I do, and I had one earlier today, I'm literally just using the pre-built kind of format. So you don't have to, go through and try to figure out what you're going to do on a week in and week out basis. It really lowers the prep time and it provides a lot of fluidity to what you're doing. So go to giantworldwide.com/accelerate. If you're interested in learning more, there's some information on there. You can click the schedule info call button that's on there. If you want to talk to somebody, we're happy to answer questions in a really, no pressure way at all. And then we would love to have you back here. We do this every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Really with just our heart is we want to give you value. We want to serve you. We want to share best practices and things that we've learned that we use with our own consultants to be able to hopefully benefit you in your business. To that, love to have you back with us next Tuesday on October 6th at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking about ways that you can raise your floor as a business. In other words, how do you build in some reoccurring revenue that's more predictable so that you can get away from this project base on and off again, having to kind of resell over and over and over again. Really to be able to build that. And we have some tools to be able to make that happen, but this is going to be really valuable, as well as to be able to minimize or cover expenses that you're doing in your business as well. That'll be next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We are about 3 minutes over, but I'm going to put one more thing out there. And I love this because Linnea said this and I completely agree. Sorry, Mike, but I'm going to give you one more chance just to hear your Aussie accent, which is amazing. What's one quick piece of advice that you would give somebody who is thinking about doing coaching groups? They're like, hey, this sounds great. I'm thinking about doing it. What's one thing that you've learned that would just be a word of advice as we're about to get off? Anybody?
Get into a coaching group. Yeah.
So
if you experience one yourself, it really will help you know how to guide one.
Yep. Sure. That's awesome. I love that. Mark, Linnea?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is imposter syndrome. If you're not familiar with the term, it's just this idea that you're not good enough, right? Why would somebody want to listen to you? Why would somebody want to be in your coaching group? And in the movie Catch Me If You Can, he talks about this idea that you just have to be one step ahead of your students. And so if you're doing Sherpa training as your base, do Sherpa training 0, have them do Sherpa training 0. And if you're one step ahead of them, then you're ready to step in the ring and coach. And so your heart for them, if you have the liberator's intent, if you're truly fighting for their highest possible good and contending until it's present day reality, then you're the right person for the job. So educate yourself and don't let imposter syndrome keep you back. So you are good enough. If you have a heart for them, then you're the coach for them for sure. So
It's great. Linnea? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I would just say be real, and go first, learn, always be, and put yourself out there. So when we're talking about things, don't just, share the concept and throw it out. Just say, this is how this mattered in my life, or this is what happened in my life this week or in my business. So I think that leading with that kind of vulnerability and psychological safety allows people to be authentic.
We should have just started with that. I mean, we could have started just with those and then just ended it, called it a day. But really, Mark, Mike, Linnea, appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for pouring into others. I know you do that on a regular basis, not just here today, but thank you certainly for being our guest today and pouring in. And again, if you're tuning into this and you're on social media, please join us on Giant next week. You can go to giant.tv/free account. Is that right, Tracy?
That's right.
To create an account. And then not only can you join in today's for our Tuesday Accelerate Your Coaching session, but you can join in all the other ones as well. Tracy, anything we need to know before we hop off?
I don't think so. I sure appreciate all of you coming on and sharing your wisdom. It was great.
All right. We hope you all have a great rest of your week. Thanks for tuning in today.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.